Hello, everyone. I am Adrienne Cobb. I'm a spiritual teacher and intuitive messenger and founder of My Wild Magic. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on the call about our intuition. To get started, I just want to qualify our energy a little bit. I just always like to open the energy and clear the space for me and for you and for our tribes of light that might come forth as well. So I just would like us to kind of return back to our own inner presence. So just begin by following the natural rhythm of your breath, just breathing in and breathing out, letting all the worries, cares, and concerns of the day just fall away. And again, just breathing in, drawing that breath up from the base of your spine, the sacral area, up a tube of light that comes up your spinal column, to all your energy centers up to the top of your head, all the way up to the 8th chakra right above the head. We're connecting into our higher self, our higher presence. And then bringing that breath back down the front of the body. And just feel yourself becoming more and more centered with every breath you breathe, going deeper and deeper into a relaxed state. And again, breathing up the spine. Watching that light and that energy flow all the way up to the top of the crown chakra, up to the 8th chakra right above the head. It's called the soul star. And then breathing down the front of the body. Just breathing now into the wisdom of the conscious heart. There's a threefold flame within our heart center. And this is a big part of our intuition, is actually getting centered. And so just breathing in to that threefold flame, the wisdom of our conscious heart. And expanding into the wisdom of the Great Central Sun Angels, Temple of the Great Central Sun Angels, which is my tribe of light. It's overlighting the call for all of us. Opening up a quantum prayer field for our time together this evening. So calling forth a quantum prayer field, because that helps to really expand the energy. In our energy field, a quantum prayer field really begins to support us from the other realms. And tonight we're going to be working with intuition, so it's a really good way to connect. So again, we're just connecting into a quantum prayer field. Now we want to call forth to each of your tribes of light, coming into the energy. So calling into each of your tribes of light, coming in, overlighting you in a way that's in service, highest service to all of our evolutionary growth and well-being and grace. Because as my tribe of light comes in, they're not only in service to me, they're in service to you too. And as your tribe of light comes in, they're in service to you as well as me and others as well. And that's one way the quantum prayer field is so active in that way. Hello, Catherine in Virginia. We're just doing the qualifying prayer. So again, as we're just opening up, and now we want to command down the tube of pure electronic white light in, around, through, between us, and grounding us into the electronic grid of the planet through the sacred Earth star. So above your head, like here's your 7th chakra, and right above your head, about 16, 18 inches above your head, is the soul star, sometimes referred to as electric blue soul star, but it's a soul star, and that's considered sometimes maybe the 8th chakra, and that's the gateway into the chakras above your head. There's a whole bunch of chakras up there too, and they all go into different dimensions, different realms, different beings. And then 16, 18 inches beneath your feet is the Earth star. So that's the Earth star chakra, and it basically kind of connects you into the electronic grid of the planet. If you can imagine like an electronic grid, and that's where we're sort of anchored and grounded on that level. And that allows us to be kind of an acupuncture point for the planet, where as these higher streams of energy or love or ideas and visions and inspirations stream through us, it'll stream right down through your spinal column and your chakras, all the way down into that electronic grid of the planet. It's a really great way of connecting. Now, for some people, especially people who have a lot of spirit energy, they're not necessarily, they don't like feeling all that grounded to the planet. But plugging in is good because it's really going to help your vitality and your energy. Because if you're not plugged in on some level, it's like a battery. It sort of wears you out if you're too much in the energy. So, and it's kind of shallow. It's not so like the core of the earth kind of thing with all that molten lava and iron. So the electronic grid of the planet, it's more kind of on the surface of the planet. And it's really good for our health to be plugged in on that level. Because like I said, it's actually quite rejuvenative and regenerative to imagine yourself just plugged in there. And then to help you to ground, I know for me, I used to not like feeling as grounded into the planet. And when I first started out doing some grounding work, what I do is I'd actually bring the green energy of the planet up through the bottoms of my feet, up through my knees, up through all of my chakras, and through the top of my head, and fountain out like a green fountain of light, and create like an orb of energy around me. And then it comes back up the center, this green energy that comes up. And that's another way of grounding without necessarily having to go down. You can actually pull the green energy up through your body. And I find it's just very relaxing, and it helps to cleanse energy quite a lot. So that's another way of grounding your energy, if you like. So we do want to ground. We're going to call forth the all-consuming violet transmuting flame, clearing the energy, sealing this quantum prayer field. And the violet transmuting flame is a really great support system because it helps us to clear our emotional body, negativity, fear, discord, human effluvia within the emotional body. And so often if you're an empath, you are oftentimes kind of picking up on EMF fields and thought forms and emotions and feelings of other people. And that can also be a bit draining for you. So the violet transmuting flame that's given to us, in a sense, to create a flame of Saint Germain and the violet flame angels, it will help to charge your energy field, and it will help to clear your energy field. So I start every session with it, and I find that it not only helps to clear the energy of whatever's been going on. Let's say I go from session to session, it clears the energy field. But let's say I'm coming into working with you tonight. I want my energy field cleared then too, right? Especially in the quantum prayer field. Or I find, like, let's say it's another good resource if we are on a plane and you hear babies crying, or a lot of times they're just being overstimulated by all the emotions that are going on. And if I hear babies crying on a plane, I will instantly call in the violet transmuting flame. And it will oftentimes help to settle them down. And it's not like I go to them or talk to them. I'm just on the inner levels enfolding, usually the whole plane, but enfolding any children particularly. Animals love the violet transmuting flame. Super helpful to them too, because they're also very empathic. So a really great visualization to help clear your energy field, because as we're moving towards our intuition and how that's a support system in our daily life, is that you want to have some sense of clarity, balance to you in order to have clear intuition, because people can tune into things all day long, but the level of clarity and the higher truth of it is where it's sort of variable, and that depends on how clear you are in yourself in that moment. So the violet transmuting flame, commanding down the tube of electronic white light, and that tube is literally like a tube of white light that comes in from your higher self and your higher presence. And it also helps to shield from negativity, fear, discord, human effluvia, EMF fields, X-rays, etc. And it gives you a buffer, and it helps to boost your clarity and your energy on that level. So those are two really good things. But the next thing I go into is with that violet transmuting flame sealing the energy, I also really like calling into the mighty Elohim angels, the mighty Elohim and the seraphim. I like working with both of them. The Elohim angels are the angels of creation. So they are creation angels, cosmic in orientation. They're not the archangels. They sit literally kind of almost like on the right hand of spirit. And they send forth these rays of co-creation. And these co-creation flames come into each of our chakras. And then our chakras pick it up. And there's certain attributes which each of the flames, like divine wisdom, divine truth and perfection, divine intent, divine power, divine love. The third chakra is divine peace. The second chakra is divine creativity and healing. The first chakra is divine transformation. So they all have their own things. So the Elohim I like bringing in because they're already working with the flames of creation, and they help to ignite what's called a crown of light at the top of our head. So the crown of light is where the Elohim direct these rays into. And some artists will depict like a halo around people's head, and technically it's like a crown of light. And it brings in these rays of light, which also create like an enlightenment and things like that. And then that energy begins to stream through the chakras and cause a heightened sense of awareness. Again, that's going to be good for when you're working with your intuition. So that energy is there. And then I like just opening up to the field of unconditional love within myself, knowing that I deserve more and more unconditional love at all times. And I know that you deserve more and more unconditional love at all times too, that the very best person on the planet, the very worst person on the planet, and everybody in between, it's just a universal truth that we all deserve more and more unconditional love at all times. And what that does is it not only creates kind of a clear an unconditional space, an unconditional love between us as we're going through the call tonight, but it also helps to keep our heart unraveled, because the opposite of unconditional love would be conditional love. And it's in conditional love that we usually want to cord to one another and project to one another. And it sort of engages a lot of karmic issues. And again, when you're dealing with intuition, if you're corded to somebody, or if you have a conditional love and things like that, sometimes it will interfere with the clarity of your intuition. And so I get a lot of people who are wanting to understand their intuition, but they haven't really done some of the basics to clear their own energy field, because a superficial form of intuition is when we tune into the emotional realm around us. So I intuitionally feel like that person's just a real jerk, and I feel like they're judging me, so I don't like them. And that's just my intuition. That's just my feeling about it. And so that would be kind of a superficial intuition, because once you start clearing your energy field and you uncord, then you might go back and listen to your intuition. You might find that person is teaching you something. They might be a resource. They might be upset about something totally different that you're taking personal. You see, so superficial intuition, and that's sometimes also psychic work and psychic energy. If it's not going to a deeper depth, it will sometimes just pick up like a lot of psychics. They're going to tell you something based on they're picking up a thought form or an emotion in your energy field, and then simply talking about it or agreeing with you about it. But a deeper form of intuition might be if you're really tuning in more on a soul level and deeper feelings, and you're working with this energy of your higher self and higher truth. So again, you really want to notice the difference between a superficial intuition, meaning that I'm just picking up on the thought forms or emotions of somebody, and thought forms change. Thought forms are sometimes often created out of our childhood and our lineage, and they're not really worth that much. You know, it's not that picking up a thought form and emotion isn't useful on some level, but I wouldn't necessarily make a lot of decisions from it. It's just information to be aware of, right? And the emotions are like water. They come and go very quickly. So in one moment, your intuition might be, well, that person likes me. And the next moment, that person doesn't like me. And that's because emotions kind of come and go if you're reading on that level. But if you get to the feeling level and you tune into that person, you're wondering if they like you or not, then it might be, wow, you know, when I really sit and clear myself and get connected, and I'm sitting in the field of unconditional love, like I know I'm already unconditionally loved. I don't need to cord to that person and attach them for any reason or project onto them. When I'm listening, it feels like they're just in their own process with something and the timing isn't right. Or, you know, I feel like they really do like me, but it feels like they're afraid to reach out. And so maybe I'll say hi, or do they want to go do something? You see, so the feeling level of intuition will give you more accurate information than just tuning into emotions. And that's just a matter of discernment. You're learning how to discern the energy. Is this my thought form or somebody else's? And if it's a thought form, Is it just coming from an unconditional issue, or is it really something that I should really pay attention to here? Because like I said, a lot of thought forms and belief systems are nothing more than childhood stuff. And it's not, again, it's not that you can't, you know, access the information or it's not valuable on some level, but the deeper feeling is going to give you a much more accurate read into whether or not you should do a business deal, or if you should engage a relationship, or if you should eat broccoli instead of spinach that night, or if you should take a trip or not, or call somebody. You see, and the reference point of your intuition, even though you might be tuning into something outside of you, you actually are more so listening to your own unconditional energy. And this is one of the things I love best about intuition as a foundation and a support system for our life, is that intuition is one of the, a very key premise in being a human being that allows us to feel empowered. So it allows us to stay connected to ourselves and empowered in ways that if we're not connected to ourselves, we will be influenced by other people's nervous systems and emotions and childhood issues and thought forms. And a good chance is that they're not even connected to themselves. I mean, most people don't really take the time to get connected, right? So you would be being influenced by somebody who has their own, mess of issues going on, and then trying to make your own life decisions from it. So it's really best that even if you are going to tune into something outside of yourself, you actually want to listen more deeply to yourself first. So let's look at that. Let's look at how to get more connected to yourself. And a technique that I would highly recommend to start practicing, other than the remembrance that you are unconditionally loved, is, thank you, Barbara. So in the energy of feeling connected to yourself, one of the things that I find is most helpful is if you are to, you want to call forth your higher presence. That can be your I am presence, your cosmic Christ presence, your God self, your higher self, source energy, spirit. Whatever word you use is fine. But I'm just going to use the word higher presence right now because it sort of captures it. So you want to call forth your higher presence, and you literally want to have it come as if it's sort of standing right in front of you, that it's very tangible and in front of you, and come into a one heart breath. So what that means is that you're actually going into imagining you and your higher presence as being of light, and you're giving it a hug. And you want to hug from left shoulder to left shoulder, because that really puts your heart and its heart over one another. Whereas you hug right to right, you're almost like opposite to heart. But if you hug left to left, you're actually right on top of that heart energy, right? So you're coming into this loving and tender embrace. And even that is very centering, right? Even that's super healing and very centering and grounding, and brings you almost instantly back to yourself. And then what you do is you start tuning into your breathing. So, just rhythmic breathing. And just notice your breathing at the same time you're in this one heart breath with your higher presence. And as you're noticing your breathing, you're also starting to notice that the breath, the energy of spirit moving through your presence, your higher presence. And just by becoming aware of that, what you'll find is a synchronization happens where your breath and the higher presence breath starts to become one. It becomes fluid, and it creates a cohesive energy, cohesion in the energy. And it starts to rhythmically begin connecting. And it's a very peaceful feeling. And you find that a lot of the external world stuff just drop away. Then you want to drop a little bit deeper from your breath into your heart. And again, you're focusing on your heartbeat, which oftentimes we don't do, but focus on your heartbeat. Which also focuses you on your heart chakra. And then you start to notice the heartbeat, that universal heartbeat within your own higher presence. And usually within 3 to 5 breaths, you're getting into that universal rhythm with the heartbeat of your higher presence. And that's really helping you to get connected to the heart's wisdom, which is how spirit actually talks to you. So the baseline of intuition is that if you're listening for spirit, in other words, beings from kind of higher above, working with you, whether that be angels or your higher self or cosmic Christ presence or source energy or ascended masters or something from the spiritual hierarchy or a spirit animal, whatever it is that you might be listening to, when you come into that one heart breath with your own higher presence, you're opening up that heart channel, which is literally sort of the brain and the body. It's also the brain and the spirit. And so from here, when spirit connects to you and communicates, it oftentimes does it through kind of a feeling or an impulse. And so if you're deciding you should take this trip or not, you are now synchronized to your own higher presence. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to your partner. You're not listening to your family members or your friends or the news or the weather station. You're not listening to anything else. You're just listening to yourself. And this is the place that you want to start when you're doing your intuition. Start here first, right? And then that is going to help you to be in a place of greater compassion, unconditional love, and clarity across the board with everything else that you tune in to do. So it's a pretty nice space, actually. So I'm just going to see how people are doing here for a moment. And let's see here. Amy, it's so great to see you on the call. I know I think you're in Australia. Anyway, so Laura, you're actually showing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you an invitation. You can accept it or decline it. It doesn't really matter. If you want to come on, come on. It will bring you onto the screen next to me if you're in Chrome. And I just wanted to see how you're doing with this in terms of your intuition. Like I said, accept it, decline it, no big deal. We'll move on to somebody else in a minute if it doesn't work. Okay, so she's able to accept. Let's see if her system brings her up.
I am.
Oh, there you are. Hey.
Hi.
Hey. It's so great to see you.
You too.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey, so as you're coming into that one heart breath with your higher presence, how does that feel to you? Like, what's the feeling when you just let that connection happen? It's almost like you're letting it happen. You're not forcing it.
I'm not sure how to explain that.
That's actually a great answer. It's beyond words. Good answer. Thanks a lot for playing tonight. Yeah.
Happy to help. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty connected to my intuition on a daily basis, pretty regularly. Yeah. I try to be anyway, but I don't know how I'm experiencing it physically. I'm not sure how to explain that.
Well, okay, that's a good way of saying it. So it's probably not, I mean, physically, you might notice a calming in your energy field, because what's going to happen is when you come into that one heart breath and with your higher presence, it's like you're giving it permission to sort of take command of your body. And so it will literally start a healing process in your body. And you can actually even ask your higher presence. One thing I like to do is to infuse all of my chakras with new information and wisdom. Okay, so I think the phone disconnected for her, but it will literally start to infuse your chakras and your center. So you'll notice kind of a deep sense of peace, and you'll begin to notice kind of a not only a deep sense of peace, but your endocrine system will start to balance out. Your thyroid, your adrenals, your pituitary pineal gland, your reproductive system. So all of your endocrine systems. So that's one thing physically, but the bigger thing is that you might notice it more in your feeling body. So that's really probably where you'll mostly notice that, particularly Laura, because she's angelic and mostly feeling oriented. But you might notice a sense of feeling safer, feeling more connected, feeling more confident even as well. Okay, so moving on with this then, and it is sort of a sense of not really being able to put words to it. Like I do think Laura's explanation actually was a really good one, because it is sort of beyond time and space, and it is more of an energetic feeling than it is anything else. All right, so with our intuition, let's pick something. Well, first let's call into our tribe of light, 'cause that's another really great resource. So your intuition, like I said, one of the best things I like about intuition is something that all of us have, and there are different types of intuition. There is, from the seventh chakra, it's like clairsentient. It's like knowing something without knowing how you know it, okay? In your third chakra is the energy of clairvoyance, the ability to have clear sight about something. In your ears is the clairaudient, where you have clear hearing. You can actually hear things. A lot of musicians might have this one as well. In your heart is the heart's wisdom, where you're listening more on the feeling level and the heart energy. And then in your solar plexus is maybe like the body wisdom, where you're really feeling the body. I know to turn left or right, getting chills, knowing which herbs to eat for your health, things like that. So there is all these different forms of intuition, and you have all of them intact, but you're going to have a tendency to lean more towards one than another, because it's just like some people prefer to be left-handed over right-handed, or vice versa, right? Well, your intuition is kind of like that. It's like second nature to you. And so you'll have a tendency to, even though you might be using all of them somewhat, you might find that you have a specialty in one. So I'm just going to say it out loud again, and I just want you to notice, which one do you find that you're more gifted in? And again, you're just breathing inward. As I go through these, I just want you to notice if one of these chakras light up, or you just have an instinctual knowingness, or you can see how you do it. So again, clairsentient, top of the head, it's sort of being above your body kind of feeling, or you just know something without knowing how you know it. Like, in other words, you might just be talking to somebody, and all of a sudden information comes in, and you just say it. You may not even remember what you just said, but you just say it, and it's quite profound to them. And that's kind of a channeling gift, actually. But you bring forth that information, and you just kind of deliver the message, but you just know whatever it is. Clairvoyance is where you might see the highest perfection, the highest truth in something. It would be very difficult for people to lie to you, because you do see the truth. It's also one that you can see other lifetimes. You can also maybe see into the future and have kind of a premonition type energy, or a highly creative energy, and also maybe be able to problem solve. So that one has a lot of different characteristics to it. Some people even get a ticker tape around their third eye, to where words actually come to them and they know exactly what to say. Some people have it in the form of numbers. They just can do numbers in their head, or maybe even memorize books. So there's different forms of it, but that gives you an idea of being able to see clearly into somebody and to see the truth about them. Okay, then there's clairaudient, right? So that's going to be the ears and the throat area. And you might actually hear angels, you might hear musical notes, and you might communicate, maybe the beings communicate more to you through songs. I'm a little bit more clairaudient. Like when I'm listening to somebody, that's what I say. I'm listening to your soul. And it's kind of hard to explain it, but it's like an inner listening where information comes in that just shows up, but it's almost like it's processing more through my hearing system, right? And so it's where information will show up that way. Also, it might be that you're a very good linguist, that you hear people talking and you can tell if they're telling the truth or not. You can hear if they're being authentic. You can hear emotion in their voice and depth of feeling. Not everybody registers that. You can hear the call of an animal if it's distressed or if it's happy. So it's just picking up on the energy of sound frequencies and knowing how to interpret them. And then going into your heart, again, if you see this one light up, it's people that kind of lead with their heart, but it's people who are, they essentially kind of see or listen or process information through their heart. And so they will be highly empathic to the world around them. They really do feel a lot of emotions, but most of all, deep feelings. And then from there, they are able to, if somebody says, I'm fine, but really they're angry or sad or afraid, you'll hear what you'll know in your heart. You'll have a great really huge reference of information that comes in when you listen through your heart. And the heart, like I said, actually picks up on a tremendous amount of information faster than the brain does. So that's the heart one. And it's also a sense of knowing what's right. I find that people who have heart wisdom, they just know the right thing to do. And when somebody else doesn't do it, it can be kind of disappointing for them because they have the common sense. They know that this is just the kind or the generous or the loving thing to do. So that's another part of the heart's wisdom. Compassion, being able to communicate that way, communicating on a soul level. People who have heart wisdom oftentimes want to communicate between their soul and another person's soul, and they like deeper conversation, not superficial. And then again, the body wisdom and the solar plexus, and maybe the other 2 chakras beneath, so those bottom 3 chakras, will pick up on that energy of if there's chaos in the environment, if something doesn't feel right, they'll just have an instinct, no, this just doesn't feel right, and they'll feel it kind of in their gut, in a sense. So that's that gut wisdom, getting chills, knowing what's right and what's not right for you, listening to your body, knowing when to sleep, when to drink water, that kind of thing. Knowing if you're going to be in harm's way, knowing the timing of things, which direction to go. So there's a lot. The indigenous people are really, really gifted with listening to the earth and having the body wisdom. They're really, really good because the body wisdom ties a lot to the earth wisdom too. And so, communication with plants and animals and weather patterns and all that can sometimes come with that intuition. So again, just getting an idea which form of intuition you might lean in the most. And again, it's not that you can't have more than one, but you'll notice which one you kind of lean into more. So I want you to pick that form of intuition, the one that you have a tendency to be with, that you listen to. And I want you to think about a life question, something that maybe you have been wanting guidance on, a question that you have about where to live, what to do, relationship issues, job, money, health issues, anything, just whatever it is. Just take a moment and center into yourself and listen to, ask your soul, what's most important for me to get an answer to tonight. And just forming that question in your heart or your mind. And you want to drop down into your body, like even down into the pelvic area. We want to clear some energy and just notice if there's any projections or fears or discord that's already there. Like sometimes it's hard to trust our intuition because we're already riled up about something. We already are concerned or worried or fearful or insecure or caught up in our own story. So what you want to do is you ask the question, you breathe down into your belly, into the pelvic floor area, and from there you're asking, just noticing how you feel. Does it feel like you're kind of reacting to anything? And what's going on? And just all parts of you have a right to be heard. And so you're asking your emotions and your feelings to come forth. They have a right to be heard because you want to clear that kind of the junk part of it out of the way before going straight to an answer, because you don't want to color your intuition with emotions or thoughts, not only from other people, but also from within yourself and your own kind of inner child or nervous system. So again, you just drop into your belly area, the navel, pelvic floor, and just noticing that all parts of you have a right to be heard. You're just opening with compassion and curiosity. You're opening up the energy and you're just listening to what your reaction is. What we're really looking for is an authentic response, but what oftentimes happens first with intuition is we get a knee-jerk reaction. So we're going to start right there, knee-jerk reaction. And it may or may not be a true answer, right? But we're just noticing what the emotion is. And then we're going to go ahead and call into the violet transmuting flame and our own higher presence, which we've been working with, to please clear anything that is not the highest truth. Clear any emotions, feelings, projections, anything that's not serving my highest good right now. And you can almost feel it, like I'm asking one to be cleared too right now. And for me, the minute I call on the violet transmuting flame or my higher presence, please help me clear anything that's not serving my highest good in this moment. I'm feeling like this energy sort of rising up, and I can feel energy being like my heart's getting a little bit warm, and it feels like it's opening up to a more loving place. And so you might notice something on your body, maybe within an organ like your liver or your stomach or your left knee or the back of your head. But when you ask something to be cleared, sometimes you'll actually feel it. Sometimes it's so subtle you may not, so don't worry if you're not feeling it. But sometimes the more tuned in you are with yourself, you'll actually feel yourself clearing energy. Now, if it's a big charge and I'm still having a hard time, I will do a tapping meditation, because that will help to clear. It's sort of like an EMDR, where you move your eyes back and forth and it will process out a trauma or something that's in your way. Tapping is another way of doing it. And you're sort of tapping right here. Let's see if I can show you. Let's see. You're tapping on the inside of your wrist, and you're saying, I'm opening to all my emotions and feelings. I'm opening to all my emotions and feelings. And these are acupuncture points that go to all your organs and stuff. And you're just wanting to open that up. I'm opening to all my emotions and feelings. And then you're just kind of tapping, so you're tapping here on the inside of the eye, the outside of the eye, right underneath the eye, the upper lip, the lower lip, right under here, this right at the clavicle. I do the sternum, right in the middle where the thymus is, and then right under the arm, right here. There's like a little point. Sometimes it'll be a little bit sore, kind of like if this is my armpit, it's just like a few inches down, right? And then you just go back to the top of the head. And you just keep tapping, and it's really helpful to talk out. I usually do my third eye too. Talk out, well, I could go do this thing, but I'm not 100% sure. And really, quite honestly, I'm just really tired in the moment. I don't really know if I want to go do this whole other thing. I just got through, doing this other workshop thing that I was doing. And, I'm just not sure. But you keep talking as you're tapping, right? About your feelings, your emotions, and it'll help to process it out. But I know that, if I just had a little bit of time, I think this could really be a good thing in the long run. And it seems like a good group of people, and I think I just want to give it a try. You see, and so through the tapping, I'm clearing my emotions and my nervous system. And that didn't take very long, right? Depending on the charge, it might take longer. But what I did was, in the tapping, I got to my answer that I really would like to go forward with this opportunity that's being offered. And right now, if I tuned into my body and I made an intuitive decision in this moment, I'd be like, I just don't have the energy for it. I'm still integrating the 21-day quest, and now there's this whole other thing. This other opportunity. I would almost talk myself out of it. And then maybe 3 weeks later, I'd be like, oh man, I wished I had listened better to my intuition, because in a few weeks, you know what I mean? So as I'm tapping, I'm talking myself through the current emotions. I'm already tapped into my higher presence, and I'm feeling guidance. And when I look at it, it feels like it's lining up. So this is the thing with intuition. The more clear you become about yourself when you're listening to your own inner power, you're not referencing yourself outside any longer. When you're listening to your own power system inside, You also start to get a clear vision about your life path. Hey, Nelda. And you start to have the vision for your higher path starts to lighten up. So now when I go out in my day, I start to have a better timing. I start to listen to my feelings better. Like, I don't really want to go do that. Maybe I'll go do this. Your intuition kicks on because you're actually listening to yourself. So intuition, people usually think, how can I tune into the world outside me? But one of the first keys to intuition is listening to your inner self first. And from listening to your inner self, that is like almost 100% of it right there, honestly, right? Because then you already start to have your answer. And then if you have a charge, like relationships are a big one. Money is another big one. People have really big charges on, their survival issues might prevent them from saying yes to an expensive trip or buying something or doing something, right? Or their intuition might be faulty because of childhood issues, and they might overspend or overgive because they're being influenced that way. Same with relationships. It brings up sometimes insecurities, and we start referencing life outside of ourselves. So again, the minute you get back in touch with your own inner presence, that is the biggest chunk of intuition right there. Call in, come into your own higher presence, get in resonance with that. And then from getting into resonance with that, like I said, money, relationships, those are really big ones. But whatever your key link is that you have a sensitivity to, I would highly recommend doing the tapping meditation as a way of clearing yourself automatically as you are listening to your intuition. So that's going to help you immensely to get out of your own way, because that's the biggest problem that most people complain about with intuition, is that we have a tendency to get in our own way, right? And then we said, oh, well, I can't hear. I just can't tune in. And so the tapping will help you get beyond your own emotions and thought forms. And all you do is you just keep talking out loud, your fears, your concerns, your issues, your angers, your frustration, whatever it is. You tap and tap and tap, and you're going to find usually within 3, 5, 10 minutes, which is a really long time, honestly, but usually in a very short period of time, you'll just be talking, and all of a sudden you're shifting your thoughts to something more positive. And it's something that's more in alignment with you, that is aligning to your higher presence. Because with intuition comes clarity of your life purpose, your life path, your soul blueprint. The clearer you are inside yourself, the clearer your own reason for being on the planet and what you've come to experience becomes. Because that's another big question that people have, is about that. So intuition really supports your life path. It supports your soul blueprint. It supports good decision making qualities. It supports you holding your power and being on your own 2 feet when you're around others that maybe you lose yourself to at times. And then that causes you to lose life force energy. And then, that will make you feel kind of, out of balance in its own way. And then, of course, you might feel like you have to ask something outside of yourself to get clarity, but really it's in the breathing. I'm rhythmically breathing. I'm coming in with my own higher presence, because that's your highest guided system, is your own higher presence. And then you can also go to whichever intuition and just imagine switching it on like a light switch. I'm switching on my clairaudient. I'm switching on my clairsentient. I'm switching on my heart's wisdom. And just imagine turning a switch on with that chakra. So it's like you're turning it on, like a light switch. And then you can call in your tribe of light, because your tribe of light is also an amazing support system that will help you, because they actually act as a guidance system for you. I call my great central sun angels in for everything, from finding a parking place to major business decisions, to what to do in relationship issues, to what to eat for dinner. So they actually evolve by getting to be of service with you. So, they love being part of your daily decision making, which is a big reason we're using intuition. It's like your intuition is like, it's like your guiding North Star. It's like the compass of your own inner North Star that helps you to guide your path through life. And without it, it's like you're operating blind. It's like you're operating without any sense of self whatsoever. So of course you're going to have a tendency to sell yourself out, or make decisions out of your childhood, or listen to other people when maybe they're not connected and don't even have your best interest in mind. You see, so intuition is literally like our guiding North Star. And then having a relationship to your true presence gives you the reference point and the empowerment to move forward with it and to trust yourself. And then your tribe of light come in and back up whatever decision or whatever you're wanting to do. But they also do, like I said, act as a guidance system. So coming back, so the tapping, well, is one of the best techniques I know of getting out of your own way. Now, another really great resource in terms of intuition and trying to do it is when I first started out practicing having discernment with what I was hearing with other people and doing readings with them, or even just for myself in my own life, is I started doing automatic journaling. It's a really powerful technique where you get a journal, and I always write at the top the abbreviations for Great Central Sun Angels and abbreviations for Cosmic Christ Presence and the abbreviation for Mary Magdalene. Those are the three I usually call in because I work with them, pretty often. And I will just say, oh, I had this dream and I'm not sure the meaning. What's the highest truth? Or, this is a opportunity coming my way. What's the highest truth? And I don't ever say, what's the higher truth or what should I do? I usually frame it when I'm doing automatic journaling after I write how I feel or what's going on or what the question is, what is the highest truth for me in this moment? And that is a really great way to answer it so you're not getting any variations. What's the highest truth for me in this moment? And then go for that. Whatever comes back, and you kind of open up and you let your own higher presence or your tribe of light or any other ascended masters or beings that you work with, Archangel Michael, whoever, come in, and you're giving them the floor to kind of write back through you. And it takes a little getting used to, but it's actually quite simple. And again, it helps kind of discern between your voice, which you may be having a hard time trusting, versus the beings that you're working with. So there's intuition about how to govern the world outside of you and not give your power away by trusting your own intuition. And the best way to trust yourself is to connect to yourself. So trust is actually kind of an easier thing than what people give credit for. A lot of people don't feel like they trust their intuition, but that's because they're not trusting the connection to themselves, and in this case, to their own higher presence. So when you go in to trust yourself, you're not trusting your inner child or your unconscious or all these other things. What you really want to do is call forth this higher presence and say, I choose you above and beyond all else. So when it comes to your higher presence, I choose you hands down above and beyond all else, because that is your connection to your source energy. You should be choosing above and beyond all else. And then you'll literally feel it choosing you. And that's going to give you like a sense of safety and connection that you've probably been searching for even since you were a child. Like a lot of times our parents or family members or whoever we've been raised by aren't really always able to give us that sense of feeling chosen and a sense of belonging and a sense of your higher presence has your best interest in mind at all times without any agenda. So it's a wonderful feeling to feel that circuitry of love coming back to you. So again, once you get centered there, then when you're around other people, you won't lose your power to them. You won't be influenced. It's going to help you with issues of insecurities and over mentally processing things, getting confused emotionally because you're highly empathic. It's going to help just center yourself immensely beyond all that. And then if you find you're in your own emotions about something, it's not an external influence, but it's in your own emotional discord, then do the tapping to help release anything until you can get it to a more positive or clear space for yourself. And you'll just feel it, like all of a sudden you'll just feel peaceful. You'll just feel like, oh yeah, that's the answer. Or yeah, that's actually the truth of how I feel. And I find that, again, people who are highly empathic or who pick up on other people's thought forms, intuition, I mean, it's such a dichotomy because you are so intuitional when it comes to other people, their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings, their desires, their wants, their needs. But when it comes to yourself, you get a little bit lost because you don't have a reference point for your own self. So it's like having this extraordinary antenna for the world around you, but that when it comes to your own decision making, you get confused. And so again, locking into your own higher presence will immediately center you. Doing the tapping will help you get through the confusion so that you can see how you really feel about something and what your truth really is. And then the automatic journaling is another way of helping. And again, don't forget to switch on the intuition as well. So does anybody have any questions? If you put it in the chat box, I can answer it or bring you up live. You know, if you have any questions, let me know and we can go directly into that. Mostly kind of done with what I'm going to say for tonight, but any questions, and that will be good too. Give everybody a moment to respond there. So this is Catherine. Amy, I actually have a question for you because you have pretty extraordinary intuition in your higher mental body. And I'm curious when it comes to you kind of centering yourself, what kind of resources you're using for that. So I'm going to send you an invite. You can come up or not. Accept it, decline it. Either way is fine with that. You kind of are, I don't see it to accept. Yeah, okay, let me try it again. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess it didn't go. Okay, it went this time. Server system. Laos, okay, she's here. Hey, how are you?
Hi, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, yeah. Are you in Australia?
I am in Australia, yeah. The timing worked out.
This is the next day you're morning, right?
Yep, it's 11:30 Friday morning.
That's great. Yeah, I have one of my people on my business team is in Australia now, so I've had to learn the time change difference. That works really well. Okay, good. So when it comes to your intuition, you're really quite brilliant in your higher mental body and your capacity to process information. So when you find you start to get confused or you're maybe over processing, you can't make a decision. Mm-hmm. Do you find like doing the tapping? Do you think that would help? I'm not sure if you've tried that or not yet. Or do you have any resources for that? Some people get emotionally confused. I get emotionally confused. But some people mentally overprocess. And that's why I wanted to bring you up, because you'll have a tendency to mentally overprocess. And so I wanted to see how you do, if you had any, you know, what goes on for you with that, for the people who have that.
You're so right. And that's kind of what I'm here to kind of recenter and figure out. So I'll turn externally, like I'll need a friend or just someone to stop me thinking. And that can work sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work. I have tried the tapping, and sometimes it can just break the thinking, which is good. I struggle to know, like, am I getting to something that's actually useful, or am I just being tricked by my own emotions right now?
Or your own mind, even, because again, your mind is like really strong, which sometimes people with really strong minds, they will kind of overthink something because that's where their strength is. You know what I mean? On that level. So just kind of listen to your energy field, because it's going to be probably a good resource for anybody with that. Is there anything that you're thinking about now that you were seeking guidance on, that you had any confusion about, or even anything in the past that you have a tendency towards?
Yeah. I guess one smaller thing is, am I making the right choice with where I'm putting my kids into school? Am I giving them what they need? I have a choice between a public school or a private school.
And that's a really big deal. I find, especially if you have to, as a parent, if you have to make decisions for another human being, that's a really big one to know, especially if you're super conscious, because you want the best decision and you're the one that has to make it ultimately. And it's going to affect these other souls, right? On their journey, right? Okay, so I'm just watching your energy field as we do the question. So you do have a higher mental body that's really profound and very strong. And when I'm watching your decision making, it's actually so simple. It actually is dropping into your heart, not your emotions, right? But when you drop into your heart, it's when you overthink, you do the pros and cons thing, right? This could happen, and that could happen. It's good, the bad. Okay, so the intuition with people who overthink, oftentimes it's going to be the thing that comes to them kind of first. So if you weren't overthinking and you dropped into your heart, what feels good to you? Where do you want to put your kids? Don't think about them. This is where we get a little bit lost. We'll start thinking about the other person, okay? And then when you think about another person, you're so responsible as a soul, because the more conscious you are, the more responsible you feel. And then there's infinite possibilities. Well, it could affect them this way and that way and whatever, okay? So I just want you to focus on what is in your best interest. Like, what school do you feel is best from your choice? Don't think about them.
Right. So there's something very calming potentially about the private school, because they will really take the time to hear me. Like, my voice really matters there, and I'm paying them. They're committed to listening to me, and they're responsive.
There you go. You stop right there. Don't even say another word. That's it. That's the one I would use. And the reason I'm saying stop right there is because, again, your mind's immediately going to want to go into a whole second, third, fourth, and 20th conversation about it, right? And so that's the one. And just trust it. You see what I mean? Because you see how it feels good in your body. It feels more peaceful. It feels good in your heart. And if we were all one, because, again, highly conscious beings are going to know we're all one, right? If it feels good to me, then it's going to be in service in some way. Doesn't mean there's not going to be issues. Doesn't mean you're not going to have things to work out in any of those relationships with your kids or your partner or the school. It just means that that's the one that you feel best about. And because you're the one that has to make the decision, that's the one you're going to trust. So you're learning to trust your heart and your feeling on that level. So it's almost like when you're highly mentally oriented, dropping to your heart or your body is probably going to be the best way to go. Mm-hmm. You see, now for me, I'm almost opposite of you. I'm very emotional in my decisions and can be almost erratic and all over the place. It's almost better for me to come up to my higher self and think something through. And oftentimes I have to give myself 24 hours because I'll just be sure. No, emotionally, I just know this is the right answer and I'm going to do it.
No, I have never relate to that at all.
You know what I mean? No. And so for me, for people who are very emotionally based, maybe giving themselves 24 hours, because I find my intuition, once I sleep, I settle myself. And when I wake up the next day, I'm like, oh man, I wished I hadn't decided that yesterday if I had just given it that time. So that's a good one for you. You should just say, it feels good in my body, I'm doing it. It's more solid. You're wasting too much time deliberating. I make a decision way too fast. You see, again, opposite sides. And I'm showing people this because she and I have opposite forms of intuition, and that's going to catch the category of whoever's listening to this call, because one of us, we're usually one or the other, right? So if you're highly emotionally sensitive, you want to slow yourself down, take time, really get connected, and you want to go more to your higher self, your higher listening, your higher mental body, and try to make a decision from there. If you're mentally very strong and you overprocess things, you want to go down to your heart and into your gut, and you want to be more an instant decision and trust that, and then don't keep talking about it. Just be done. Okay, so any questions about that? And I did agree. I didn't want to say anything until you answered, but I did agree about the private school as well. It felt like a good one for them. It seems like there'll be good opportunities for everybody to grow and learn from. Yeah. Okay, well, it was great getting to meet you and see you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take you off the screen. Okay, so we're right about an hour, so we're going to go ahead and finish up here tonight. But thank you so much for being on the call. And if you wanted to work more with your intuition, I have a monthly membership, $39 a month, and it does a lot of work helping people every Wednesday night. We're working with Ascended Masters and angels and spiritual hierarchy, and there's so many cool techniques that come in all the time that help us to fine-tune our capacity for intuition, working with the higher realms, but also it helps us to clear issues that come up for us throughout the month, as well as they back us in a 24/7 prayer field. So that's the invitation. And let's see here. There was actually one more question. I always miss this little box down here. Let's see. So, hello, which one of these techniques would be most effective in high stress situation where you are overwhelmed mentally, physically, and emotionally? An example would be a high stress work environment like in hospital where there is so much going on and not really a place or time to get one's own space, maybe a mantra. Mantras aren't bad, but it might almost be masking the stress, like it might be a coping mechanism that actually separates you from your emotions in a way. So the most powerful one are the ones we spoke with tonight when you're in high stress situations is immediately, and you can do this anytime whether you're with people or not, is do a 1 heart breath with your higher presence. I do that while we're talking tonight. I do that while I'm walking. I do that when I'm in session. I do that when I wake up. I do that before I go to bed. I find it to be incredibly comforting, but it helps me to stay in touch with what's going on in my time-space reality without just having a coping mechanism. But it also helps me to have some discernment, detachment, and capacity to think from a higher place while I'm with other people. So that one where you're doing the 1 heart breath with your own higher presence is the one I would recommend for high stress situations, to stay connected and to really allow your higher presence to come through you and to start governing the situation. And part of that prayer with your higher presence is not only is I choose you above and beyond all else, and you can feel it choosing you in return, which is very comforting and healing on so many levels. But then I follow up and I say, once I feel it all synchronized, I say, please come forth and govern every activity of my day, govern the situation, take command of this high stress situation, take command of this relationship, this financial issue. I start turning my life over to that higher presence. And that makes a world of difference. For one, I don't feel alone. For two, if you had parents that weren't really showing up necessarily in their best benefit for you, then it's like you start to have this higher presence you can trust. So that one is the best one out of all of them for sure, for anything, but particularly in high stress situations where you can't take a moment to go do the meditation and center yourself and all the tapping. All right, so thank you so much for being on the call this evening, and I look forward to connecting to you. We'll be doing monthly calls. We're also going to be offering the month of December will actually be a free way to enjoy the membership. So if you sign up for that, you'll be put on a waiting list. And then when we get into December, we'll be going into the Teton retreat, which is one of the Ascended Master retreats, and putting requests up on their board to get help. It's a really cool thing that happens, and they only offer this. The Ascended Masters only offer it in June and December. So it's a really great opportunity if you have a higher vision or a strong heart's desire. So that's a great month to try out the membership for free and see what you think about it. All right, so you have a good rest of your evening, and we will talk to you later. All right, good night.